Alright me guys, Woodger in Awunya, and welcome back to Mick's 4-wheel drive touring. Today we're going to revisit the Getting Out There series a little bit, and we're going to discuss the top 5 upgrades or modifications that you should be doing to your 4-wheel drive when you first purchase it. Now this is going to be based on bog stock vehicles, grandpa spec, as I purchased the Pajero. Now I'm joined today by a good mate of mine, Nathan. The reason I've asked Nathan along is, well, I drive a 3.5 litre V6 petrol, and it's a station wagon in the Pajero. Nathan, what's yours?
2.5 litre turbo diesel.
What model?
D40 Navara, 2012.
Alrighty, so that way we've got ute and we've got wagon options. We've also got diesel and petrol options. So we'll get through this intro and then we'll see you in a minute and we'll get started. Okay guys, so as mentioned, we're going to go through today and discuss what we each believe is the most important upgrades or modifications that you should do to any bog stock grandpa spec 4-wheel drive before you start hitting the dirt. Now obviously we're not going to go through and include everything. Anybody going off-road in any form, even like the dirt roads here in Munmora or through the Waddigan Mountains, you should always have a tyre deflator. You should always have a decent tyre gauge, and you should always have a compressor. They're basic simple things. To top it off with those as well, a good snatch strap, a shovel, and know exactly where your recovery points are. Now keep in mind, a lot of vehicles such as Nathan's Navara don't come with recovery points from the factory. With the Pajero, they do. So you may have to invest in rated recovery points. But we're not going to get into that so much today. This is more about the things to make your vehicle a bit more capable and make it a bit better and safer for you off-road. So I'm going to start at number 5 and we'll work our way backwards to our top number 1. And for me, number 5 is suspension. Now the reason I put suspension at number 5 is because yes, it's important. It might give you a bit of extra ground clearance, but before you go messing around too much with your suspension, you want to work out everything else you want to do to your car. Do you want to add a bull bar like Nathan and I have both done? Do you want to add fridge and drawer systems in the back, dual battery systems, things like that? Do you want to upgrade the size of your tyres? These are things that need to be thought of and worked out prior to upgrading your suspension, so you make sure you get the correct weight. So for me, number 5 is suspension. Nathan?
Yeah, pretty much the same. You got to know, what your rig weighs, what you're going to do with it. So if you're just going to be running around on the weekends, stock suspension might be fine. Maybe long travel shocks for a little bit more down travel. But yeah, suspension's pretty good. Once you know your weight, what you're taking with you, like fridges, solar panels, camping gear. If you're going to have a winch on the front, which neither of us do at the moment, you might have scrub bars, rock sliders, all that adds extra weight to it. Even bash plates underneath, which we'll talk about probably a little bit later. You've got to know how much it weighs to get properly rated suspension, otherwise you could be dangerous and uninsured.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. So if you are, as I mentioned, and as we both mentioned, if you are going to go adding additional things in like your bull bars and body protection and things like that, it does all add weight. I know when I got the Pajero suspension done, I ended up with a constant 300 kilo load rating. So that was to compensate for the ball bar. That's to compensate for my dual battery system and drawers and things like that. So that's why I believe number 5 for suspension, as much as it is an important thing, it's something that can be left a little while. Okay, so number 4. My number 4 is diff breathers. Diff breathers are a great option. They're always something that should be added to a vehicle. However, you can still get off-road and you can still travel around and do a lot without them. But they do, especially if you're going to be doing water crossings or mud holes and playing around and that, then a diff breather will help prevent water getting into your diff oil. It can also help prevent issues with the seals and stuff like that later on. So diff breathers are quite a cheap and easy fix, but they are something that should be done but aren't a necessity right off the bat.
Yeah, diff breathers are pretty important. If you do go, out in the country where it's very dusty roads, and water crossings especially, when going through water you should always stop, check how deep the water hole is. If you've been running for a while, stop and let it cool down, because your diffs are going to be hot. Hit cold water, sucks all the moisture in. That's
exactly it. Even without a diff breather, if you let your diffs and that cool down, you reduce the risk of water getting into the oil in the first place. So
that's it. And like I said, diff breathers for me as well is engine protection. So like I said, snorkels, fuel filters, going to servos that aren't below water level. Like we have every winter we hear about people with their 2-strokes fishing on Lake Macquarie, water and fuel.
Yep.
Most of the time they go to the servo, very low lying around the lake, tanks are underground, they suck in the moisture.
Yep. Especially if they use an A10.
So for me, I always go to a servo that's up a little bit higher. I run Fuel Doctor in my diesel. I know I can use it in petrol and all sorts of stuff. I have not yet got a secondary fuel filter, but that's something that I am looking at.
It's on the cards.
I know a couple of people out west where my parents live that have had very expensive repair bills for water and fuel for diesels, and it destroys
especially
engines.
On a diesel. For a petrol motor, it's not as much of an issue. Yes, water in your petrol can still be a big issue, and it can still cost you a motor, but the petrol motors are more resilient and able to handle a little bit more water ingress than what a diesel motor will. Alrighty, for number 3, my third most important upgrade or modification to your vehicle would be snorkel. As mentioned, with diff breathers you can slow down, you can let your diffs cool down and things like that, and then do that before going through a crossing, and you reduce the risk of sucking water into your oil. Whereas with the snorkel, again, yes, you can go slow, you can take it nice and easy. Obviously you always want to check the water level before you go through, but a snorkel will help prevent water getting into the vehicle through any water crossing. I've been through ones that hardly cover half my tyre, but still managed to get water up around the air intake prior to having the snorkel. So having the snorkel for me is number 3. It is something I believe that all 4-wheel drive should have if you intend to go off-road. Look, you don't even need to go onto gnarly 4-wheel drive tracks or anything like that. There's a number of places, even where we are here today in Munmora State Conservation, there's some areas here where there's causeways and the water runs over after a bit of rain. A simple thing like that, and that could end your vehicle. As Nathan said, especially with the diesels. The other thing with the snorkel is cleaner and cooler air intake. Normally, especially on a long dusty road, you'll get cleaner air coming into the vehicle rather than having it down a bit lower. So, Nath, you're number 3, mate.
Yeah, I like the idea of the snorkel. Just touching on that, seal the snorkel properly. Mine, I haven't finished installing it properly. I was on the beach the other weekend. I've got sand in the in the filter box in the bottom.
Good job.
So
definitely don't want that in the motor.
I don't have the inner guard in properly because I haven't finished the snorkel install off and I haven't sealed it up. But I'm thinking about things like a UHF, even a cheap handheld one, for starting off, so you can talk to a buddy and going out with a buddy or somebody else who knows the area, or especially when you first start off. Yeah, I think a bit of good communication would be about my number 3.
Yep, fair enough.
Yeah.
Alright. Nathan's got a good point there with the communication. UHF radio is something that is very important. And in regard to making sure the snorkel's sealed, I will say my airbox has actually got a crack in the top of it. And a couple of weeks ago I was out in the Wadigan Mountains or Chilliby State Conservation Area with my brother and a few of his mates, and didn't realise, but I actually got water inside that crack, and the worst part is it was on top of my air filter. So rather than coming in the bottom and then having to go through the filter, it was on top of the filter, and the motor spluttered a little bit, but fortunately there was no serious damage. My number 2 is tyres. Look, you can drive a 4-wheel drive out of the showroom and straight onto dirt roads and do a bit of 4-wheel driving. In fact, if you watch Ronnie Dahl with his Toyota Hilux, he did exactly that. So, look, you can buy a bog stock 4-wheel drive and go straight out in the bush and start driving. But I feel that the first thing you should upgrade to help you gain better traction, and both on and off road, and to help protect your tyres and get you back out, is a decent set of tyres. Now, as you already know, I run the J-Tracks from Bob Jane on my Pajero. They're an all-terrain, they're not overly aggressive, but they've been quite a good tyre. Having a decent tyre means you can deflate them a bit more, you get a larger tread pattern, therefore you get more traction. It can help prevent sticks and rocks and things like that going up through your tyres, or metal stakes like I've done.
Fish hooks on the beach last weekend.
Yeah, fish hooks and whatnot. So decent set of tyres, I feel, is number 2. It's the first real physical thing to your car, and I think one of the most expensive things to get started, at least. So tyres for me is number 2.
Yeah, I'll go with tyres as well. At the moment I've got a set of 16-inch Michelin, I don't know what, I've brought them for the rims. These rims are going to be my
latitude
play rims. I'm going to get some muddies for when I go away off-roading, and they're going to be on these ones. I'm going to have a set of highway tyres on the other rims. I've got 17-inch stockies that this come with, but at the moment they've got Bridgestone KO2 all-terrains, which were pretty aggressive. You've seen them, they're pretty aggressive.
They're not a bad tyre, actually.
Which were great, but they're starting to get old now, and they've got a bit hard, and I find that they're
getting a bit noisy.
A little bit noisy, not too bad, but it's mainly in the wet on the road.
No.
They get very sketchy going around roundabouts when it's a bit wet. It wants to slide both front and rear.
That's one thing. Personally, I'm not a big fan of mud tyres when it comes to driving on tarmac. And be honest, most of us, majority of our driving in our 4-wheel drive is on tarmac. Unless you're doing a lap or something and you're full-time off-road, or you've got a second vehicle to drive around as your daily, then most of your driving is done on tarmac. And I find mud tyres just don't seem to have the same traction on road as what a highway or an all-terrain tyre would. So my personal preference is a decent set of all-terrains.
Mine too, and the thing is with mud tyres, you're paying a lot of money for them, a lot of money compared to an AT, and they don't last anywhere near as long. A lot of people will say, oh yeah, they're good wearer and you'll get heaps of Ks, but what, 60,000 Ks out of a set of muddies?
Well, I've been told the Hankook all-terrains, when I was looking for tyres, I was told they'll do me about 120,000. So they're all-terrains, not muds.
And really, when you look at it, how much 4-wheel driving do you do? Unless
well, that's right.
It's not your daily, it's your weekend toy.
Yep.
Then yeah, go for your muddies. But like I said, I'm putting a second set of tyres on this. I'll have the weekend play tyres, and I'll have a set of highway tyres.
Your day-to-day drivers.
90+% of the time,
yep,
I'm on the highway. And still, like we said, highway tyres aren't too bad off-road as long as you pick your lines,
Yep.
go with a buddy, and this will come into my number one.
Well, I agree with Nathan with that wholeheartedly. You can definitely buy a stock standard four-wheel drive and you can get out there and you can start wheeling. And again, Ronnie Dale showed that with the Hilux. When I purchased the Pajero, you can see the photos that the vehicle was basically standard. I had Yokohama Geolanders on the front and highways on the back, and I still got out and I did heaps with that. I didn't bother to let my tyre pressures down most of the time either. I still went out and did heaps. But that's the first thing that I really wanted to upgrade on my vehicle was the tyres, because they do provide a lot more traction, a lot more safety and comfort out on the tracks. Lizard running through over there.
Getting back to tyre, stock vehicles, this thing here was exactly the same. Bog stock,
Yep.
and the only modification was a KO2 AT tyres.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a beast off-road.
Yeah. Well, you recovered, mate.
So, and then, like I said, we're slowly going, all right, I want this, I want this, I want this, and we've slowly upgraded our four-wheel drives.
Yeah, that's right.
For anyone walking in off the street, I'd recommend tyres be your first real bolt-on.
Yeah.
And you can do all your other things later, and then when you do your suspension, go, oh, I want bigger, I want to put 33s or
that's right.
whatever. Once you get your suspension, which you'll need for them bigger rims and tyres.
That's right, so you've got that little bit of extra clearance.
But you've had fun.
Yep.
You're out in the bush with your mates, and you're learning your vehicle. And then once you do all your other upgrades, then it becomes a even more capable vehicle.
Definitely.
More fun.
And that's where I think we'll get to number one on that, for my number one anyway, is UHF communications. You can see Nathan's got his little stubby there, I've got my stubby on both sides because I run two radios. UHF communications, even if it's a handheld radio, a little 1 watt handheld will keep you in communications with your mates out on the tracks, as long as you're reasonably close together. And in areas such as in Morris at Ward 21, for example, I've been stuck out there in the past and my UHF radio has got me recovered, because I've been able to scan through channels and I've been able to find somebody else that was in the area and call for help. Using a handheld, you can also guide your mates through, or they can guide you through the trickier sections of your tracks, known as spotting. It can help a lot when it comes to coordinating recoveries and things like that. A UHF radio for me is a number one in any four-wheel drive. Even going into places such as the Waddingon Mountains, when you come in through Martinsville, when you come up through Martinsville Road, you'll notice there's signs all over the place, as you can see in the images above here. There's signs all over the place that tell you to call on UHF 24 and notify the logging trucks that are in the area, because it's quite tight, windy, slippery roads, and if you've got a 40-ton logging truck coming the other way on a tight corner, you're going to end up in a bit of trouble. So even on simple communications like that, a UHF radio I feel is an absolute must have in any four-wheel drive. And again, going out with your mates and your buddies and getting to know your vehicle when you first purchased it, that UHF radio can help you to get through and tackle things that you might be nervous about tackling, but have your mates sitting there spotting you through so you can really learn what your four-wheel drive is capable of.
Yeah, definitely get a UHF. I'd start off with cheap. You can get them for like $100. Even the kids ones. That's all I've got to start with.
Well, that's right.
Kids ones. Kids love playing with them once you're at camp.
Yep.
You know, it makes it good too when you're camping. The kids go and run around in the bush. You don't have to yell.
Yeah, that's
Just
right.
get on the radio, go,
Get your ass back here.
lunchtime, come on, back you come.
Yeah.
And they usually come running. Otherwise, you've got to go chase them. And
Yeah, that's
know
right.
what kids are like anyway.
UHF radios are great. Around camp, I don't recommend really having a high-powered UHF, because the 5 watt ones and that will transmit further than what a 1 watt will, and therefore you might annoy other people that might be in the area if they're picking up your kids yelling and screaming through the radio. But otherwise, a little 1 watt or something is ideal just for that.
And like I said, most of the time, which comes to my number one, is, like I said, going out with mates and knowing your four-wheel drive, knowing a bit of maintenance. Is my spare tyre capable of being used?
Yeah.
Does it have air in it?
Yeah, well, that's always
If it has air in it, if I put it on, is it going to go flat? Does it have a hole in it?
Yep.
Because you can check a tyre and it'll seem all right, and then you put it on, and then
as soon as it gets that little bit of extra pressure into it, that's
down the road, it's on the rim as well. So knowing how to change your check your oil, check your power steering fluid, brake fluid,
your regular maintenance.
Regular maintenance on a four-wheel drive. Get to know your four-wheel drive. And always go out with someone when you first starting off. Go out with either Facebook groups, four-wheel drive groups.
And there's plenty of them around. There's plenty of them around. I've been out solo, and to be honest, probably my first 2 times out solo, both times I had to be recovered. Once apparently it was in a pothole. And then another one where you can see the photo here, and the missus had opened the door and let water in the car. But again, that's where the UHF comes in handy, is that if you do happen to venture out solo and something happens, you can call for help. Even on highway driving, you can listen to your trucks and find out if there's traffic incidents or car accidents or anything like that up ahead, or mobile speed cameras and things like that. They do come in really handy. You
blow a tyre out on the side of the road and stuff a rim or something, and you can't get the tyre off because it's chewed up or something or other. To change it, you can still no mobile reception.
Well, that's right.
You'll be able to get a truck driver to at least relay a message to someone.
Yeah. See if there's anybody on the road that might be able to stop and give you a hand,
or at least send some help. Send a tow truck to come and get you.
Exactly. Most tow trucks, at least here on the Central Coast, sit there and monitor UHF 29, which is our local trucking channel. So if something happens, you can always just jump onto there and go, boom, I need a bit of help. That's my opinion, is that UHF is number one. Again, it doesn't discount things like your recovery gear, snatch strap, bow shackles or soft shackles, proper recovery points, even the shovel that you see me carrying all the time on top of the Pajero. A little thing like that, especially out on a beach. On the
beach you need a long handle shovel, and I found the short handle shovel, one that you can turn the head around, just as good for getting rid of major amounts of dirt, so that you can get the long handle shovel underneath and dig it.
And these are things that should really, even if it is just a little small camping shovel, these are things that should be part of your kit in your four-wheel drive anyway. Again, your tyre deflators and things like that, they should be part of your kit in your four-wheel drive. Not necessarily an upgrade or modification, they should just be a standard part of your four-wheel driving kit, same as your first aid kit.
That's it. When you're going out, make sure you've got plenty of water for the day, a little bit of food. Let people know where you're going, what time you plan to be back. The same sort of applies for camping, boating, hiking, all that sort of stuff. Let people know. Take a map. Even if it's downloaded off your phone. Phones will work, but out in the middle of nowhere with just for a GPS with a map.
That's right. The GPS signals using apps such as Gaia GPS, they do work offline for your GPS signal. They may not load your satellite imagery and stuff like that, but they will still load.
I'll still tell you where you are.
That's right.
And you'll be able to find your way home.
Yeah, exactly.
Find your way out, or at least give someone, if you get on that radio, that UHF,
give them your location.
I'm here, I'm at these GPS coordinates.
Yep. And then they can find you a lot easier. Even if something bad happens and you need to call as an emergency, you can, again, apps such as Gaia GPS, you can give your GPS coordinates so they can find exactly where you are.
It narrows it down. They're within a couple of metres.
Yeah, exactly.
A rescue chopper can be on top of you.
Yep.
Whereas if you're out in the middle of the bush and you don't know where you are, I'm next to the big tree.
Yeah, what big bloody tree?
They're all big trees from where I stand.
Yeah, I'm at the top of some walking trail. What walking trail? There's 50 of them.
Yeah,
it's...
Know where you are,
Yep.
Know where you're going, roughly what time you're going to be out, coming back. Definitely a number one.
Yeah.
Get out there with your friends.
Yeah.
Learn your four-wheel drive.
And to be all honest, to go out in a four-wheel drive and not expect to have to get recovered somewhere along the line is pretty stupid, I think, because at some point or another you're going to tackle something that you might not be 100% sure of, and you're going to eventually get stuck and you are going to need recovery. It doesn't matter if you drive a Pajero or a bloody 200 series Land Cruiser. or an 80 series Land Cruiser or Patrol or whatever, it doesn't matter what you drive, somewhere along the lines you are going to need someone to recover you.
And always help out.
Well, that's right. If you see somebody that's in need of help, don't just sit there and watch them. Go up and offer help. You know,
one day that will be you. You'll be stuck and you will want help.
Well, that's right. Well, exactly what happened to me at Lithgow. I got on that hill, and yes, I had my brother there, but he was very inexperienced at the time. And we had a group sitting on the downside into the gully, and they were sitting there for an hour or something watching us. Yet they've got winches and all that sort of stuff on their vehicles, and eventually they did come and help, but not after me sitting there and struggling to try and get the car moving again, and ended up throwing my timing. You know, if they had seen us and come and helped straight away, maybe I would have been able to drive out of there rather than a $500 tow and replace it on my timing.
Yep.
If you see somebody in need of help, offer a hand, even if you don't really know what you're doing. Offer a hand.
And when you're going out somewhere, like I said, with the know where you're going, where you're coming, check the weather.
Yeah, true.
Weather can change. Like
looking at it now,
it was beautiful this morning.
Yeah.
Wind's picked up. It was sunny a second ago, and now the clouds are coming
across a bit cloudy.
And especially with rain, it can change so quick.
That's right.
If you're going down into an area that's in gullies, they can flash flood very easily. And the thing is, with canyons and gullies and gorges, and it could be 10 k's away.
Exactly, and it can be coming from.
Oh, look at that front over there. There's a bit of rain over there, and then half an hour later, you're up to your doors in bloody water.
And another factor with that is the track conditions can change so dramatically just with a little bit of rain. What could be quite a firm track that you're driving on, quite hard, quite firm, even dusty. You know, 5 mil of rain can dramatically change that and make it an absolute slosh pit and slippery as all hell.
Especially clay.
Yeah, exactly.
Goes crazy, slippery, sticks to everything.
Yep, always check weather conditions. Alrighty, I think we'll cut it at that.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining today, Nath.
Thanks for having me.
That's alright, mate. Be nice if that wants to stand up. So yeah, guys, we'll cut it at that. Thanks for joining us, Nath. Thanks for your input, mate.
Thank you for having me.
It's alright. Hope you guys have found this useful. Hope you have enjoyed the video.
Get out there and have fun.
Exactly. For those of you that are new to the whole four-wheel driving scene, that are looking to get out and start playing around a little bit, get out there, have a bit of fun, join some Facebook groups, go with some mates. The one issue I do find with some Facebook groups, however, this is something to be careful of, is you might get one or two people with a jacked up Patrol, for example, and you're in a stock vehicle and they'll be like, I know you can do it. Well, and they try to lead you down the garden path on tracks that you really should not even be attempting. That's the only thing that you need to watch out for. If you're in doubt that you're going to be able to do a track, say no. There's no shame in turning around or taking a chicken trail, guys. Don't let somebody put you down a track that you're really not confident on. But at the same time, try to step out of your comfort zone a little bit and try things. You'll be really surprised at what a stock four-wheel drive can do.
Yep. Everyone loves the mud too. That's something that everyone sees. Everyone going through the mud and throwing shit everywhere. It's great fun.
But it causes a lot of damage.
Costs a lot of money too.
It does.
It gets into everything. It gets into wheel clearance. It gets into brakes.
And it's a prick to clean.
Blocks up radiators. Yep. Then you've got heating issues.
That's right. Alternators and all that sort of
wears
stuff.
everything out. It costs a lot of money, so
yeah, definitely.
It's something I don't go near much because again, this is an everyday driver. Yours is an everyday driver. Exactly. I know you used to like playing in the mud. And it
is a bit of fun every now and again, but yeah,
it does get costly.
Definitely gets costly.
Yeah, go out with friends and don't get sidetracked by all these other YouTubers and full drive videos that are saying, oh, you've got to have this, got to have that. Go out with your friends.
Yep.
See what they're using. If you go out with some friends, they're going to have recovery gear to start with. You don't need a winch.
Well, how many times have you and I been out and neither of us have a winch?
Neither of us have got a winch.
I've only ever been on the end of a winch, or actually twice. One was for a demonstration and one was for a recovery. However...
Yeah, he was stuck, that bloke.
Eh?
He was stuck, that bloke.
Oh, actually, no, sorry, that makes it 3 times, yeah. Once I was being recovered on the end of a winch. But that was only because the guy had only just purchased the vehicle and he wanted to test the winch out. So, otherwise it was only for a demonstration. Yes, we've used winches to help other people be recovered, but otherwise, yeah, we've never really needed it.
I've just used a set of Max Tracks the other day on the beach when I got a little stuck. And next time I go on the beach, I'll have Max Tracks with me, because
that's one thing I don't have yet.
They are so good to use. They just
that's one thing I don't
walk
have
straight
yet.
out of a bowl.
But then again, a shovel, you can dig a nice, easy path out of the bog, at least with a shovel. All right, guys, going to cut it at that. I think we've gone long enough. So, take care, guys. Peace, and as always, I'll see you on the tracks. Ya know.
Will come into my number one. Knowing your vehicle and what it's capable of and what you're capable of doing. A lot of stock four-wheel drives in capable hands will outperform a lot of very capable drivers, people who don't know what they're doing.
And of course, they can see that we've got cameras set up and still has to come down and make a bloody racket. Trail bikes.